All right, and as Henry had suggested earlier, I want to take a few minutes, and you can continue posting questions in the chat channel, but I want to take a few minutes to go through some of the newer changes that have occurred on your sites, just to let you know about uh, new functionality, new things that are new ways that some things work that have changed a little bit, maybe since last time you were in one of these sessions or last time you looked through the instructions. So to see those, if you go to the announcements forum, what you'll find is that whenever we do have an update to your sites, I'll post an update in the announcements forum, and this will be linked in the email uh, that I send out prior to any site update. And so when you go to each one of these, it'll have a listing of changes that describes kind of what's changing as a result of the site update that we're doing this week. So for example, this last one that we did on last Thursday, we only made a few small changes, and those were to the login prompt and the theme changer. So those were not like, there's not really much to get used to on those. It's just kind of notifying you that for example, on when I click the staff login button, the login form that pops up, which again, that's a little bit newer too. That was introduced a couple weeks ago. It used to take you to a page for the login. Now it just opens a dialog box so that you don't have to leave the page that you're on. The change that was done in the latest update on last Thursday was that this login prompt is now styled prettier. So it was looking kind of ugly when it first showed up, and so we just kind of made sure that we cleaned it up so that it looks reasonable. And the other change that was included in the last update was a bug fix in the theme changer. So one of the things that we were seeing was when you go to the theme changer, which itself is also a fairly new functionality. So if I go to the button that has my username up at the top and I click on that, one of the options that I have is this theme changer right here. So that will take me to a page that allows me to choose between the currently available themes. So you see these three that are available right now. You see I have the Slate theme marked as active, and I can choose between the Metropolis and Clown themes also. And to activate any of those, I'll just hit the activate button for that theme, and it'll change it. And then if I want to mess with the colors of that theme, then I can go to this color palettes tab right here. And then I have a drop down that allows me to pick between the different color options for that theme. And when I click on one, you can see that the buttons and the underlining have changed. These are fairly small changes. And I can switch to the Ruby one. You'll see that the color of the buttons has changed. So this is just a preview. And so if I decide that I like the sunset one, then I can hit apply, and it will set these. And so those are new functionalities that came through on Thursday of last week. And so you can go through these site updates and you can see the features that we're adding as we're adding them. And you can see on the 13th, that was when we added this login pop-up that I was showing you just now. And one of the other things that we added was that you should now have access, as long as you're a site owner or administrator, which I believe most of you will be, you'll have access to edit these footers down at the bottom. And Judy, I see you asked about color choices for the themes. That is something that we're working on pushing out right now. I know that our theming and color options are pretty limited, but that's one of the things we've been working on is kind of making sure that the implementation of those is stable enough that we can just start adding adding new variations to those in an easy fashion that won't break anything. So we are planning on having more color options, more theming options coming in the future. Right now we don't have those yet. So we appreciate your patience as we try to roll those out. And Marianne, so the announcements area, so the way you get to that is up at the top when you're logged in, you have a couple of options. If you go to forums, then you'll see different categories, and you can go to this announcements forum right here, and then you'll see these. They're going to be listed in I guess reverse chronological order. So the most recent updates will be listed first. And again, you'll get, whenever we do perform an update to your sites, you'll get an email announcing the outage, and you'll get a link to one of these posts saying, hey, this is what's changing this week, just so that you're aware of that. No problem. Let's see. Oh yeah, sorry. And Phyllis, the edit things at the bottom of the page, I was just about to get to those, and I interrupted myself. One of the things that was added on the 13th, so that was 2 Thursdays ago, was the ability to edit the footer of your site. And so this was always here. It just, I didn't know that y'all didn't have the right security rights to see it. So we've fixed that. And so as long as you're logged in as a site owner or site administrator, which again, I believe all of y'all should have one or both of those roles. So when you're logged in, if you scroll down to the bottom of your page, you should see these 3 edit buttons. And you can see that each of those will give you a text editor that will allow you to add text in that section of your footer. So if I hit edit, it'll actually bring up my text editor, just the same. And so this text editor is the same one that you see on your pages and events and your news items and all this stuff. And you can do all the same things here that you can in those. So, if I want to add a picture or a logo or something, then I can do that. And so you can see, like, I've added that. Yeah, and it'll add it to that column. Added something there that we were required to add. I put it in the center. We could put them. Yes, you should be able to edit any one of those 3. You can put stuff in each of those columns along your footer, anywhere that you want to. There's no way to bridge them together, but hopefully you should be able to do most of what you're looking to do in your footer using those 3 columns. It'll stay in the footer. So what you're seeing here, when you're not logged in, you won't see these edit buttons, but you will see the stuff that's down there in the footer. And yes, the footer will show up on every page. And in the same way, if you have an announcement to make, and this is something that, again, was not exposed for y'all when you first got your sites, you can see that I have this message right here. It says the library will be closed today. So you can post a message like that by opening up your user menu and going to this first option, configure an emergency message. And that will allow you to set a message that will show up across the top of your site. And you can see it's even showing up right here. And so the different ones will have different colors. So I think info is blue, warning is yellow, danger is red, success is green, and disabled just means it doesn't show up. And so you can put that in. Great, I'm glad to hear that you're using it. And then let's see. Yeah, so you have a few options. This display on every page. If it's unchecked, then it'll only show up when they first go to the home page. Otherwise, it'll show up everywhere. As you can see, it's checked for this one, and it's showing up even on the edit page. And then, so this close expire, it's set by default to 0, and that just means that anytime, so you can close these messages by clicking on the X there in the box, and it'll close it. But when I refresh my page, you'll see that since that expire is set to 0, then when the page loads, it'll load that message again, even though I closed it. So if I set that to 1, that'll say, okay, leave it alone for an hour after I close it. So that means that if I close that message, then it won't reappear again for another hour after I've done that. So let me get rid of that. So I won't see that again next time I refresh. And viewer 10, I did see your question about adjusting column width. Right now, so there's no way for us to adjust those column widths because it's part of the theming on your site that dictates how wide each one of those is. So the most straightforward option we'll have for making those smaller is to release new themes for your site that have smaller portlet columns. Aside from that, the only thing you would be able to do is hide some of your portlets. So, for example, if you hid or removed or moved all of your portlets from the right side of the page, then it will expand this central content area out toward that direction. So if you're looking for more real estate in the center of your page, then that might be an option for you. The demonstration site you were shown had more layout options. Honestly, I'm not sure. I don't know if I have poked around on that demo site. And I know that one of the things is that there's still a few features that we're working on rolling out. So it may be that let's see. One of the features that we're still testing and that we're trying to get rolled out, hopefully this week for beginning, is something that's called cover that we haven't really been messing with. We haven't made it available yet because we're still cleaning up some of the interface, but it allows you to kind of do a more varied layout on your page, and so that's something that will be available shortly. That will give you more layout options than just this like straight page, and so that might be what you're referring to, because I know that was part of the demo, and so I do apologize that we haven't gotten that to y'all yet. We've been kind of caught up in bringing different user populations online, getting everyone's site stable, making sure everything's working as is, and then kind of adding features in as we're getting comfortable. And so when that does go in, that's something that you will see in the announcements forum. One of the new features that you might not have seen yet is the library locations feature, and this is something that had been, I believe, asked for kind of during discussions about about the project to bring everybody over to Ploud. So what'll happen there? And let me see if I can get there. And I've posted an article on the help desk about this that you can also refer to. So one of the things that you should see on your sites. All right, thanks, Marianne. See you next time. One of the things that you should see on your sites, if you go into the contents view of your main folder, you'll see a new folder that was created called Our Locations and Hours. And you can also search for that using the search field up here. So if you go to that folder, then you can, if you hit add new, you'll only have one option and it'll say library location. And so if you try to add one of those, then what you'll see is a series of blanks. So you can add in a bunch of information here, and then so I can kind of add information about our library here, and then I can actually choose an image to represent it. And then when I hit save, that will create my library location object. And so you can see that it's got the stuff filled out, and then one of the things that it will create is it will display a Google Maps widget that will show you where the library is. And it didn't work for this one because I put in a fake address that it couldn't figure out. Let me see if I can fix that, just so that it's a more clear example. Requires me remembering a real address. So it's actually added in the main section of so it's in the home folder. It's hidden from the navigation because we didn't want it to like jump up onto your navigation menu. But if you go to your search and just say, if you just say our locations, then okay, and you can see that now that I've got a real address on here, the map is showing up correctly. So if I just type our locations into the search on my site, then it'll bring up this our locations and hours folder. And then you can see I've got a couple of library branches here. And let me make sure that those are published. I'll just check both of those. I'll go to change state. And then I'll scroll down to the bottom and click publish. And so in Viewer 10, I see, how are you getting the option to edit without the visual editor on your edit screen? We haven't been seeing that. That's odd. I'm not sure what the difference is. I can follow up with our developers though and see if there's something that makes that show up. It could be so, and we had questions like this about the configuring the emergency message and about the footer editors. When I was demonstrating those at one point, someone pointed out, they're like, hey, we can't even see those. And I realized that it was because I'm logged in as kind of like a super user who has complete access everywhere to the whole site. And so my security is kind of fully open, and because y'all actually have roles assigned in the system, it may be that that option is not exposed for you. And then let me show you real quick. So these library locations, you create those, and then you can actually add them to a portlet by, if you go to the Manage Portlets option in the middle, at the bottom, in the button at the bottom middle of your screen, and you go to Add Portlet, you have a new option here called Library Locations. And when I click on to add one of those, it'll take me to a page that allows me to select from the library locations I've created. So I can list some or all of them. And what that'll do is it will create my locations and hours portlet. You can see that I have that library locations there. And then when I went to the wrong page. Viewer 7, so the locations and hours folder should have been created in the home folder of your site. If you can tell me the URL of your site, I can check if I can see it. And so you can see I've now got my library locations portlet here that I just created, and it's showing up with my picture, my information, and my hours listed. And so I can format that by formatting stuff here also. And let's see. Yeah, so, and if I click on one of the library names there, then it'll take me to the library location page where you can have a lot of information here, and it'll show you the map that to that area.